Okay, so thank you for watching the DevRel Asia 2020 interview sessions. I'm Achi, mainly organizer of the conference. In this time, I will introduce our awesome great speaker and chat with them about their talk in 15 minutes. Today's guest is PJ. Welcome, PJ.
Hello, how
Uh,
are you?
oh, pretty good. And you?
I'm doing okay, doing okay.
Oh, so I think you live in New York State, right?
Yes, yes, I live in
So
Buffalo, New York.
it's it's very early morning, right?
It's early morning. Yeah, it's about 6:30 in the morning right now.
Oh, thank you for attending to I can't wake up that day the time.
Well, for you, I can wake up this early.
All right. Thank you for attending. And in this session, we have two topics. Our first topic is introduce yourself from you, and after that, we will talk about your session, right?
Okay, sounds
So
good.
first, I show the bonus, and please introduce yourself, PJ.
Sure. So my name's PJ Hagerty. I work at a company called DevRel that I founded 3 years ago, actually. Um, that's dedicated to developer and community relations as a service. That's changed a lot in the last year, what that means. But I've been doing developer relations for probably about 10 years now. And that has ranged from speaking at conferences to creating and writing content, community management, anything that has to do with working with the community. And that's really what the focus is on. And that's kind of what my talk is about as well. I started as a developer a long time ago. Doesn't matter how long, that's not important. But I began in the closed source community or the inner source community, if you prefer, and eventually moved to open source and really found my love of community in the open source community at a fairly young point in my development career. So I've been spending a lot of my time working there, learning things as far as like the cloud world, the infrastructure world, deployment stuff, DevOps, and everything in between. So I've done a lot of different things in my career, and my goal is to share that with as many people as possible.
I see. I think my career looks like your career. So my career began from programmers, and I began DevRel agency in Japan before 5 years ago.
Hmm.
So and why uh, do you start the agency DevRel services?
Part of the reason I did it is I was going to a lot of conferences and events, and I saw a lot of smaller companies. They weren't IBM, they weren't Microsoft, they didn't have the money or the time to participate in the community the way they wanted to.
Mm,
And that, in a way, that was a lot of sadness. There was a lot of sadness there. They are using open source tools, or they're using some sort of uh, methodology that they would like to share their thoughts on, but they don't have someone who can do that for them. So,
mm,
with the pushing of a friend of mine, a guy named Eamon Leonard, I decided that what I could do is I could find these places that were a lot smaller
mhm,
and work with them piecemeal to get them what they needed, whether that was, a few blog posts to prove that they
mm,
understood the space, or
mhm,
to actually put on the t-shirt and go up on stage and say, hey, I'm here
mm.
representing this company and they really love what this community is doing. And here's some more information about that. The main focus was to make sure people who didn't necessarily have the opportunity to participate in the community could do
Mm,
so in a way that was affordable and
mhm.
manageable, given their time and financial situation.
I see. So I think we got the COVID-19 effect right now. So
Mm,
community style or community communication style is completely changing, I think.
absolutely.
So what do you think about?
One of the big things that I think about is the changing of kind of the conference format. Like, you seem to have a great format here of going online. There's lots of different great virtual events, but I think the biggest change is the way that people deliver the things that they would have delivered in a conference. Things like, delivering content via Twitch streaming, doing some live coding, direct outreach into the community. Forums are huge. Online chat forums like Mattermost and things like that to keep communities together have become more and more important as we see so many people going to remote work and so many people only being able to interact online. So we've had to be more creative. And I'd have to say that since the beginning of COVID-19, or maybe a little after the beginning, blog posts have gotten so much better. Content has gotten so much better because we're kind of forced to do it that way.
I see. So, what is the biggest changing in your life work or work style with COVID-19?
Yeah, probably the biggest change in my work style is the inability to travel. I love to travel. It was one of my favorite parts of the job, but I think that in a lot of ways the virtual format has allowed us to still see people and interact with people, but I feel like it's not as much. A lot of people say that DevRel is measured in hugs and high fives and your ability to interact with people, and the fact that we can't do that is kind of sad. It's you and I can talk, but we're not meeting, and that's not quite the same thing. You know what I mean? And that I think is the upsetting part. I think that's the biggest change, is just not being able to see people and really get to know them in a casual setting.
So we have to try to something new method or new techniques in developer relations. So how do you think about you make something new method or new techniques in your work?
One of the things that I've been considering doing, actually, one of the new methods is taking some of my old talks that I would do for conferences and recording them. So, putting the slides up, putting a full recording of it, because, they might be outdated, and just updating them and putting them out there, kind of doing a not conference and having a place, some sort of repository where people can go and say, oh, I've always wanted to, hear about, how community works like open source. I say that was the first talk I ever gave. So, redoing that talk, updating it for this situation, for the situation we're in now, and seeing how people enjoy it or take to it. I think that would be a lot of fun. And I think that would really change the way people look at how content's delivered.
I see. So I think my friends become to know looks like a YouTuber. So they broadcast their technologies on the YouTube or Twitch or something. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great way to. I mean, people are kind of familiar with that video format, so it's not unfamiliar. You're not breaking into new territory, but what you are doing is delivering them something that they didn't have before, and I think that's important.
I see. And by the way, what is your favorite technology, or currently you focus on something technologies right now?
Right now, the technology that I'm working most with is ChatOps, because I'm working with the folks from Mattermost. So kind of focusing on how we're communicating synchronously and asynchronously, depending on the situation, but how we can use that in the DevOps space, how we can use that, on-prem to keep it nice and secure, and the different things that we can do. It's also a matter of understanding how many different options there are out there. It's not just a matter of okay, so there's Slack, we use Slack. In the same way that in social media, it's like there's Facebook, but not everybody wants to use Facebook. What are your other options? Let's find out.
I see. Yeah, it depends on countries or areas, something. So in the Hong Kong, China, Korea, Japan, and everyone changed the tools of communication, right?
Absolutely.
I see. So you have to adjust every tools for communities.
That's right. And make sure that everybody's able to access it.
I see. Okay. So we will move to the second topic. Your talk title is It's a Message, Not a Shine, Why DevRel Should Not Be cult of personality. So please teach me about abstract or summary.
Sure. So this talk kind of came up as I was noticing something a little bit different that was happening in the DevRel industry. For a long time, a lot of people didn't know what to do with DevRel. It wasn't even really called DevRel. And so it was kind of looked at as like a secondary thing, not important. Over the past few years, it's become more and more important. It's become a key factor, but there's still a misunderstanding as to what DevRel is. And unfortunately, a lot of companies, especially larger companies, have decided that it's really about having personalities or influencers on your team who can get the message out, and that makes it more about sales and less about the community. In my opinion, DevRel is always about the community. The community always comes first. It should not be about a single person or their level of fame, their level of thought leadership, if you want to use that term. Especially if they're not actually leading thoughts, but they're focusing more on being a personality who people will follow and not really delivering anything technical at all. Our jobs in DevRel is to deliver technical information in a way that's digestible for the most number of people. That sometimes means translating super deep dive technical info in a way that anyone could understand. Someone who's not very technologically minded, but in a way that someone who is technologically minded could also easily digest it. It should not be about the person who's delivering it. It should not be about how many Twitter followers you have. You should not be hired based on how many likes your last Instagram post got of your last talk. But it seems that DevRel is moving in that direction. So in the talk, I'm going to address some of the things, and I might, call out a few companies that have been guilty of this. And see if we can't work towards what DevRel really should be, which is focusing on community and ensuring that we're delivering a message that is educational, not just entertaining.
I see. That's very important, I think. So some evangelists or some advocates get huge followers, and they looks like a hero, or they looks like icons of the technologies. But
Exactly. And it's funny because a few years ago, not even a few years ago, like probably 7 or 8 years ago, in the developer space, there was the whole idea of, you would see advertisements on LinkedIn like, oh, we're looking for a rock star developer. And that became a very negative term. Yet in DevRel, that seems to be what a lot of people are going for. I'm going to be a rock star developer advocate. I'll be a rock star developer evangelist. It's like, that should not be the goal that you strive for. If that's what you're doing, don't get into this job. This job is about everyone who's not on stage, not the person who is.
So maybe you will find out the next diamond or next rock star or something. So the next stars from communities. So how to find out?
Right. And a lot of this is about learning how to work with humility and to be humble. Because it's, I look at it as when you're doing DevRel, you're serving the community. You're the one who's in service. It's not that the community should come to you. You should go to the community.
And talk with our developers.
Absolutely.
I see. So do you find out them from online community or real local communities?
It's kind of a combination of both. My career started with local communities, so I'm still very involved with local communities. But what does that mean right now? For example, I last week we ran a conference called DevOps Days Buffalo, and we had people from well outside of Buffalo, New York. We usually expect some people from the area, like Southern Canada and Rochester, New York, and things like that. Sure. We didn't expect to see people from Turkey and India and places like that coming to see. Just because we had a good lineup, they decided that they would get tickets and come, and that was an amazing thing. So I think that the whole idea of online versus local, like what does that mean as far as a community in this time, and what does that mean moving forward? I think, as we see more things growing, like, I'm seeing a lot of people talking about plans for 2021 being hybrid conferences where it's partially online and partially live. I think that's a great opportunity. People can say, oh, I'll just pay $25 and I'll get a ticket to see this virtually because I can't afford the $1,000 to fly all the way to, Portugal and see it live. So that I think that's going to be the way things will really go. So I think the idea of local versus online community is going to get very blurry over the next year.
I see. So I think you joined several communities around the world.
Yep.
So, and I think each community has own rule or own following something. So
Absolutely.
how to find out it or how to follow it.
Well, the key is meeting folks like you who are really involved in the community, and you understand your own community's culture, your own community's ins and outs, who the members are, things like that. So if I can talk to you and we can become friends, I hope we can become friends. Then when I'm heading to where you are, I already have someone on the ground who can say, hey, listen, this is what we're doing, and so is working on these projects, and this group is doing this, and that's what's going on in our part of the world. Like, it really helps me to understand what's going on as soon as I get somewhere and become part of the community. And that's the key, is just people being open and allowing more vision into what they're doing. And just talking about it. It's really all about communication.
I see. So when I visited to the Singapore, Singapore community begin from a dinner, like a dinner with chat, and some participate collected one venues. They began to the study sessions. I'm very confused about that. So,
well, I've seen kind of communities do all kinds of different things. I've seen, here we have what they call coffee and code, which is where a lot of people will come to. Well, we used to, you'd go in the morning and everyone would get coffee and maybe some sort of breakfast, and you'd sit down and open laptops, and some people would be brand new, and other people would be, very experienced, and people would learn from each other. And that was a great experience. But I know a lot of places are like, why would you do that in the morning? You'd have to get up really early. So it's not for everyone. But I think that every community does what fits with that region or that area or that community. Some people like to do open source, but when we started OpenHack back in like 2012, it wasn't specifically about open source. It was about finishing projects. And seeing how they went. So it really depends on what your community wants to do.
I see. Okay, so our interview session is ended. So I'm very excited about your talk, and I can't wait hear your sessions. So I hope you will enjoy the conference. It's virtually, but I hope you will enjoy the conference also. So
I hope so as well.
yeah. So some people watching the videos on here. So see you next interview sessions. Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
Have a good day.